Have you ever opened your eyes at 3 a.m., looked at the ceiling and wondered, why am I awake when the whole world is asleep? You check your phone, no notification, no message, no noise, yet your heart feels heavy, or hopeful, or restless. My dear brothers and sisters, this moment is not accidental. It may be a silent invitation from Allah, an invitation not sent through words, but through the soul. When the world turns its back, Allah turns toward His servants. And in that quiet moment, your rizq, your peace, and your answers may be waiting. Waking up at 3 a.m. is often dismissed as coincidence, stress, or a disturbed sleep cycle, but in reality, nothing in a believer's life happens without wisdom. Allah is Al-Hakim, the most wise, and when He allows something to happen repeatedly or at a specific moment, it carries meaning beyond what the eyes can see. The stillness of 3 a.m. is unlike any other time. The world is asleep, distractions are silent, and the heart is most vulnerable, sincere, and open. It is in this quiet that the soul becomes more receptive to remembrance and reflection. Islam teaches us that the last third of the night is a sacred time. It is a moment when Allah's mercy descends in a special way, when supplications are answered and forgiveness is granted. When a person wakes up during this hour without planning to, it may be a gentle invitation from Allah to reconnect, to speak, and to be heard. Many people spend their days busy with work, responsibilities, and worries, leaving little room for sincere dua. The night, especially this hour, removes those barriers. The heart speaks more honestly when no one else is watching. Sometimes waking up at 3 a.m. is linked to what the heart is carrying. Unspoken worries, financial stress, emotional pain, or unanswered prayers often surface in the silence of the night. Allah, in His mercy, may awaken a person not to trouble them, but to give them relief. When a servant turns to Allah at that time, even with a few words or tears, it can bring peace that hours of sleep cannot provide. It is a reminder that true rest is not only for the body, but also for the soul. This awakening can also be a form of spiritual alertness. Just as Allah provides signs during the day, He also communicates through moments at night. The believer is encouraged not to waste these moments on anxiety or distraction, but to turn them into worship, remembrance, or quiet gratitude. Even a brief connection with Allah at that hour can bring barakah into one's life, opening doors that seemed closed and softening hardships that felt heavy. Waking up at 3 a.m. is not random because Allah does not randomly choose moments. When He calls His servant in the depth of the night, it is out of love, mercy, and a desire to draw them closer. Allah's mercy in the last third of the night is one of the greatest gifts given to this ummah, a time filled with nearness, forgiveness, and divine generosity. When the world is silent and most people are lost in sleep, Allah opens a special door for those who turn to Him. This period of the night is not just a moment on the clock. It is a sacred opportunity where hearts soften, tears flow easily, and sincerity reaches its peak. In these quiet hours, distractions fade away, and the soul stands alone before its Creator. The Prophet informed us that during the last third of the night, Allah asks who is calling upon Him so that He may answer, who is asking from Him so that He may give, and who is seeking forgiveness so that He may forgive. This is a powerful reminder that Allah does not wait for perfect people or flawless worship. He calls out to His servants despite their weaknesses, mistakes, and shortcomings. His mercy does not depend on how strong or righteous a person feels. It depends on His infinite kindness and compassion. At this time, du'as carry a different weight because they come from a place of humility. There is no audience, no desire to impress others, and no rush. The heart speaks honestly, often admitting fears and hopes that remain hidden during the day. Allah loves this honesty. He loves when His servant turns to Him with trust, knowing that only He can fix what is broken. Many scholars have mentioned that blessings in one's life often begin from sincere moments of night worship, even if they are brief. Allah's mercy in this part of the night is also a source of emotional healing. Worries that feel overwhelming during daylight hours often lose their power when placed before Allah in the darkness. A person may rise feeling burdened, yet sit in remembrance and stand up feeling lighter. This is because mercy is not always about changing circumstances immediately. Sometimes it is about strengthening the heart to face them with patience and hope. The last third of the night is also a time of forgiveness. No matter how distant someone feels from Allah, this moment remains open. It teaches the believer that Allah's door is never closed and that turning back is always possible. Even a few minutes of remembrance, a quiet dua, or sincere repentance at this time can reshape one's spiritual path. Allah's mercy descends generously in the last third of the night, embracing those who seek Him with sincerity and trust. The power of Allah's beautiful names, the Asma-ul-Husna, lies in the deep connection they create between the servant and the Creator. These names are not just words to be memorized or recited without thought. They are descriptions of Allah's perfection, mercy, strength, wisdom, and generosity. Each name reflects an attribute of Allah that governs every aspect of existence. When a believer calls upon Allah using His beautiful names, they are acknowledging who Allah truly is and placing their trust in His divine qualities. Allah Himself commands the believers to call upon Him through these names. This teaches us that every need, fear, and hope has a corresponding attribute of Allah connected to it. When someone is struggling with provision, they call upon the one who provides. When they feel trapped or confused, they turn to the one who opens doors and grants clarity. This awareness transforms dua from a routine habit into a deeply personal conversation with Allah. The heart becomes present because the servant knows exactly whom they are calling and why. The Asma-ul-Husna also have the power to reshape the inner state of a believer. Constantly, remembering Allah as the most merciful softens the heart and removes despair. Remembering Him as the all-knowing brings comfort, knowing that nothing is hidden from Him, not even silent tears or unspoken pain. When these names are repeated with understanding, they instill peace, patience, and reliance upon Allah. The believer begins to see life through the lens of divine wisdom rather than fear or uncertainty. Another powerful aspect of Allah's beautiful names is their role in strengthening faith during difficult times. When hardships strike, the mind may question and the heart may feel weak. Calling upon Allah by His names reconnects the servant to certainty. It reminds them that Allah is in control, that He is gentle even in trials, and that every test carries purpose. This remembrance shifts focus away from the problem and toward the one who has power over all outcomes. The Asma-ul-Husna also encourage self-reflection and spiritual growth. When a believer recognizes Allah's attributes, they naturally strive to reflect those qualities in their own character in a limited human way, such as mercy, patience, and generosity. This deepens the bond with Allah and improves relationships with others. The power of Allah's beautiful names is not only in what they bring into a person's life, but in how they transform the heart, strengthen trust, and draw the servant closer to their Lord. Among the beautiful names of Allah are names that directly relate to provision, ease, and the opening of doors that seem firmly closed. These names remind the believer that sustenance does not come from effort alone, nor do solutions arise purely from human planning. Everything flows from Allah's will, and when He gives, no one can withhold, and when He opens a door, no one can shut it. Turning to Allah through these names strengthens reliance upon Him and removes anxiety about the future. One of the most powerful names connected to provision is Ar-Razak, the ever-providing. Allah provides to every creation without measure, without delay, and without dependence on means. When a believer calls upon Ar-Razak, they affirm that their income, opportunities, and stability are not tied solely to their job, business, or circumstances. This name teaches contentment and trust, encouraging the heart to remain calm even when resources seem limited, because Allah's provision reaches in ways the mind cannot imagine. Another name deeply linked to openings is Al-Fatah, the opener. Allah opens doors of sustenance, guidance, understanding, and relief. When a person feels stuck, facing repeated obstacles or rejection, remembering Al-Fatah restores hope. This name reassures the believer that delays are not denials and that Allah opens paths at the perfect time. Many openings come unexpectedly after patience and sincerity, reminding the servant that Allah's timing is always wiser than human urgency. Al-Ghani, the self-sufficient, is a name that frees the heart from dependence on people. Allah is not in need of anyone, yet He enriches whom He wills. Calling upon Al-Ghani helps the believer detach from fear of loss and disappointment caused by others. It builds dignity and confidence, reminding the heart that true wealth is not only in possessions but in reliance upon the one who owns everything. This name brings inner richness even before material ease appears. Another name closely tied to ease and generosity is Al-Karim, the most generous. Allah gives abundantly, often beyond what is asked, and sometimes even to those who feel undeserving. When a believer calls upon Al-Karim, they approach Allah with hope rather than fear. This name softens the heart, encouraging gratitude and optimism, knowing that Allah's generosity is not limited by human standards. Together, these names guide the believer toward patience, trust, and sincerity. They shift the focus away from worry and toward reliance upon Allah, creating spiritual ease that often leads to tangible openings in life. Sincerity over superstition is a principle deeply rooted in Islam, reminding believers that Allah responds to hearts, not hollow actions. Many people search for quick formulas, specific numbers, or secret rituals, believing that repeating certain words alone will guarantee results. While remembrance and supplication are powerful, they were never meant to be reduced to mechanical habits disconnected from intention. Without sincerity, actions lose their spiritual weight, and worship becomes a routine rather than a relationship with Allah. Allah looks at the truthfulness of the heart before the movement of the tongue. A single sincere dua, whispered with full reliance and humility, can outweigh countless repetitions done without presence or trust. Superstition focuses on the action itself, while sincerity focuses on Allah. When someone believes that a certain phrase or timing works independently of Allah's will, they unknowingly weaken their understanding of Tawheed. Islam teaches that benefit and harm come only from Allah, not from words, numbers, or moments on their own. Sincerity also means turning to Allah without conditions. Many people approach dua with a mindset of transaction, expecting immediate results or specific outcomes. When those expectations are not met, disappointment follows. A sincere believer, however, trusts that Allah knows what is best and when it is best. They ask with hope but accept with patience, knowing that delay does not mean rejection. This level of trust transforms worship into a source of peace rather than anxiety. Superstition often distracts the heart from true reliance. It creates dependence on patterns instead of the Creator. Sincerity frees the believer from this trap by grounding their faith in Allah's wisdom and mercy. When a person sincerely remembers Allah, their heart becomes calm even before any visible change occurs. This calmness itself is a sign of acceptance because Allah grants tranquility to those who truly trust Him. True sincerity also encourages consistency in worship, not only during moments of need. A sincere heart remembers Allah in ease and hardship, while superstition appears only when problems arise. This difference shapes the believer's spiritual strength. When worship is built on sincerity, it deepens over time, strengthening faith and patience. Ultimately, sincerity turns simple acts into powerful worship. A quiet remembrance, a few honest tears, or a humble plea made sincerely can open doors that superstition never could. Allah responds to hearts that rely on Him alone, seeking His pleasure rather than shortcuts. Spiritual awakening leads to financial stability because it reshapes a person's relationship with both wealth and effort. When the heart becomes aware of Allah's presence, priorities begin to align correctly. A spiritually awakened person understands that money is a trust, not a goal in itself. This awareness removes desperation, greed, and constant anxiety about provision, replacing them with balance, responsibility, and reliance upon Allah. When the heart is at peace, decisions become wiser and actions become more disciplined. A spiritually conscious individual is more mindful of halal and haram, which plays a crucial role in long-term financial stability. Earning through lawful means brings barakah, even if the amount seems small. Barakah is not always visible in numbers, but it is felt in sufficiency, ease, and protection from unnecessary loss. Many people earn large amounts yet remain dissatisfied, while others earn modestly and live with contentment. This difference often stems from spiritual awareness rather than income level. Spiritual awakening also strengthens qualities that directly impact financial success, such as patience, gratitude, and integrity. A person connected to Allah is less likely to make impulsive decisions driven by fear or comparison. They avoid shortcuts that lead to regret and instead focus on consistent effort paired with trust in Allah. Gratitude for what one already has attracts further blessings, as Allah promises increase for those who are thankful. This gratitude mindset also reduces wastefulness and improves financial management. When a person remembers Allah regularly, their sense of accountability increases. They become more careful with contracts, promises, and responsibilities. This builds trust with others, which naturally leads to better opportunities, stable relationships, and long-term success. People are drawn to those who are honest and dependable, and these qualities are strengthened through spiritual growth. Spiritual awakening also changes how a person handles hardship. Financial difficulties no longer feel like punishment, but are understood as tests or redirections. This perspective prevents despair and encourages resilience. Instead of giving up, a spiritually aware person continues striving while making sincere dua. This combination of effort and reliance often opens doors that seemed impossible. Most importantly, spiritual awakening brings inner richness. When the heart feels fulfilled, money becomes a tool rather than a source of stress. This inner stability reflects outwardly, influencing choices, habits, and interactions. Over time, this harmony between faith and effort creates a stable foundation for financial well-being, rooted not in fear of loss, but in trust in Allah's provision and wisdom. In the end, this message reminds us that nothing in our lives happens without purpose, not even the quiet moments when sleep leaves us in the depth of the night. Waking up at 3 a.m. is not a disturbance, but an invitation, a moment where Allah gently calls His servant away from the noise of the world and toward the peace of remembrance. It is a time when mercy descends, hearts soften, and sincere duas rise without barriers. Through understanding the last third of the night, the power of Allah's beautiful names, and the importance of sincerity over superstition, we learn that true openings come from connection, not shortcuts. Provision, ease, and stability are not controlled by circumstances alone, but by the one who controls all hearts and all outcomes. When a believer turns to Allah with honesty and trust, even a few quiet moments can reshape their life in ways they never imagined. This journey also teaches us that spiritual awakening is the foundation of real success. When the heart becomes aware of Allah, worries begin to lose their grip, decisions become clearer, and effort gains barakah. Financial stability is not merely about how much is earned, but about how much peace, contentment, and protection Allah places within what we have. So the next time the night wakes you while the world sleeps, do not see it as restlessness. See it as mercy. Turn to Allah, call upon Him by His beautiful names, and place your trust fully in Him. Because when a servant responds to Allah in the darkness, Allah responds with light in the heart, in provision, and in every path that lies ahead.